Good morning, America. It's Politic Rick, and today I want to talk a little bit about the Mueller investigation. You know, this investigation is winding down. The Department of Justice has said publicly that the investigation is very nearly done, and Robert Mueller is getting ready to release his report. So the two big questions on everyone's mind right now are, number one, when exactly will it be released? I mean, they've said publicly, it's close to being done. It's been 2 years, over 2 years, since we've been, the election, 2016, and the investigation is officially winding down, and the report is going to be released. Now, the report itself is going to be, after 2 years, 2 full years of investigation. I mean, this is not going to be a 5-page report. I mean, this is going to be hundreds of pages, if not thousands of pages, of documents, which will basically detail all of the findings of the report. So that's what people are waiting for, on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. The Trump administration, Donald Trump, publicly he's come out and said that the investigation, for quite a long time has said, the investigation needs to be stopped. It's a witch hunt. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. And it's just politically motivated and there's no substance to it. But the fact remains that an investigation did take place, took over 2 years, and now the report is being prepared. So, when it will be released is one of the big things. And then the other thing is just how much of it are we actually going to see? I mean, it's been in the news, the Mueller investigation, the Mueller report, collusion with Russia. There have been indictments, Paul Manafort, Mr. Trump's own, attorney, now Roger Stone. So the question is, how much of this report are we actually going to see? Because how much of it will be available for public consumption? How is it going to be released? Is it going to be released just straight out to the public? Is it going to come out to Congress first? Will only, a select few see it and then decide? So these are the questions that we really have to ask ourselves. And I think everybody really wants to know, again, on both sides. So the investigation, again, Mueller and his team have said could be completed as early as next week, which is the last week in February 2019. However, DOJ has said that it's not expecting that the report will be released next week due to, multiple things, but one of the main things is that President Trump will be out of the country in Vietnam at a summit with North Korea. So it's not expected that the report will be released while the president is out of the country. Now, Mr. Trump was asked about this at the White House, and he said publicly that it's actually not up to him. It's up to the new Attorney General, Robert Mueller, when it will be released, and he has no say, no input over that. So it's really going to be, Robert Mueller's decision in terms of, William Barr's decision in terms of when the report itself will actually be released, the timing of it. But like I said, very few people are expecting that it will be released while President Trump is out of the country. And as the Attorney General was appointed by Donald Trump, it's not expected that he's going to do that while the president is actually out of the country, focused on meeting with foreign powers. So that's probably not going to happen, but it could be very, very soon in the coming weeks. So the report is expected to be certainly ready, certainly be completed, but again, the exact timing still is sort of up in the air. Now, the other question, once you get past, okay, well, when will the report be released, is how much of it does the public actually get to see? As I mentioned, the report itself is going to be hundreds or thousands of pages long. I mean, the Mueller team, they interviewed hundreds of people, hundreds of people for this investigation, and it took 2 years of investigation. So this isn't going to be, a 20 or 30 page report. I mean, there might be summaries of the actual report that will be that long, but the actual report itself, documenting all the findings that, how, this multi-million-dollar report, which cost, was paid for by taxpayers, the report itself is going to be hundreds or thousands of pages. Now, how much of it does the Congress get to see? How much of it does the public get to see? Again, Donald Trump's official stance is that it's really up to the Attorney General how much is released, and also in what form it's released, and also when it's released. Will it be released to Congress first, and then it will come out to the public? Will it be released all at the same time? And Barr has not commented, at least specifically on these things. He's made some statements, which again we'll get to, but he hasn't said, well, I'm going to release it to Congress, and then I'll release it 2 weeks later to the public. He hasn't said that, so there is no official rolled out plan or rolled out itinerary or anything along those lines. And I think it's just pretty much playing it as we go here, in terms of, okay, so the report is going to be ready, and then the report is out and it's released. Obviously, the Department of Justice will see it, and the Attorney General will see it, and then it's really up to the Attorney General, the acting Attorney General, how much of this is going to get released, and to who, and in what forms. Now, the House Democrats have basically said they want the full report. They're not going to take a summary. They're not going to take a synopsis. They want to see the unedited, unabridged, full report and make their own conclusions. So they're looking for the full hundreds of pages or even thousands of pages document, and then they'll go through it themselves and come to their own conclusions in terms of what, if anything, what actions need to be taken based upon the report, because that's the whole point behind the report is, are there parties that, committed crimes? Are there parties that need to be prosecuted? And we've seen that, with some of the indictments that have been handed down, such as Paul Manafort, such as Roger Stone, such as Mr. Trump's attorney, Daniel Cohen. So, we've seen these things, but, once the report comes out, the question will be, what is done with the report? Now, again, President Trump has said multiple times that he really doesn't feel that there's going to be any substance within the report, and basically he'll be exonerated. So I think, the House Democrats want to sort of play a more wait and see kind of approach. But they certainly want the full report. They don't want any synopsis. They're not going to take anything from anything other than the absolute unabridged report. So, and they've also come out and said publicly that, possible scenarios, if they don't get the full report, is that they'll actually go ahead and subpoena the full report, or they'll subpoena Robert Mueller and have him come and actually testify before Congress on all of the findings that are contained within the report. Which of those scenarios will play out, or even if those scenarios will be necessary, because again, this is only in the event that they don't get the full report, or they don't get what they deem to be the full report, would they take these actions. So, again, the hope by the House Dems is just that simply that the Attorney General will simply release the full unabridged report to them, and then they'll be able to review it and move forward with it, make whatever recommendations they can. Now, as I mentioned previously, the Attorney General has said, again, he hasn't said we're going to release the report at such and such time, or we're going to release it, in terms of when we'll release it, how much we'll release it. He hasn't, really said those main things, but he has made some statements. Number one, he has said that he wants to be absolutely transparent. He wants transparency here. I think that he's approaching this as, we need to wrap this investigation up to everyone's satisfaction, to the president's satisfaction, to the administration's satisfaction, to, Congress and the House, but also the American people, the public. Everyone needs to be satisfied that the investigation has been done. What needs to be done has been done. Those who committed a crime, if crimes were committed, were prosecuted, or were brought to justice. So he said he really wants transparency on all levels, with the public, with Congress, and with the president, and that makes sense. But he has also said, that it's not just a very, I think, he's kind of trying to lay out that it's not necessarily just an arbitrary decision that he is going to make. He has said that he's going to release the report according to the law. So he's going to release it when the law says he can release it. And also he's going to release it in a form that again is relegated by, what the law says and what the law allows. And a particular sticking point is that, Donald Trump has said that the report is going to exonerate him. It's going to, vindicate him and show that he did absolutely nothing wrong. The unofficial Department of Justice policy is that they actually don't release publicly derogatory or, defaming information about uncharged individuals. So in other words, if they do an investigation and no charges are going to be filed, then typically they don't release publicly the findings of any type of report or investigation that's kept confidential, to protect people who, were investigated, but it was found that, no charges could be brought or would be brought. Now, the one very notable exception where the DOJ actually violated this policy was with the whole Hillary Clinton email investigation. The information was released almost as it was being investigated and as it was being found. But as we all know, ultimately, after 2 separate investigations, it was decided that no charges could be filed. So, they basically violated that policy with that investigation. So, what will happen with the Mueller investigation sort of remains to be seen. Will they sort of go back to that unwritten policy that we don't release publicly derogatory information about people and individuals who are uncharged, or we don't release, the results of an investigation which doesn't lead to criminal charges, which again has been for years, the unofficial DOJ policy, or, because the public is so, obviously day to day involved. I mean, every single day this is in the news. And even the president, brings it up pretty much on a daily basis. Either he talks about it or he tweets about it. I mean, this is on everyone's mind. Are they going to be able to just basically say, well, no charges were filed, so we're not going to release that report? It's probably not going to fly. It certainly is not going to fly with Congress, who has basically said, they want the full report no matter what. If it says, Donald Trump did nothing wrong, they want to see that in the report. So they're not going to accept that. That DOJ is just going to say, well, no charges could be filed, so we're not going to make that report public. They're not going to accept that. So, we're definitely going to see, a portion of this report, if not the full report, released to Congress. And like I said, the Dems have said, if they don't get what they want, they'll subpoena the report. Or they'll just subpoena Robert Mueller and have him come and testify and basically say, okay, well, what was found, what was going on, and that's what will have to be determined. So, this sort of unofficial policy, kind of went by the wayside. We have a precedent with the Hillary Clinton email investigation where, this policy really wasn't followed. So, now, how can you backtrack and go back and say, well, that's our policy, and, we didn't do that for the last, 2 years, but, we're going to go back to this policy where we don't release publicly, any information which could, basically, be defaming to people who aren't being charged. So, that's probably not going to be acceptable, I think, on multiple parties. So we'll definitely see portions of the report. I don't know that the public, when I say we, I'm really talking about the public now. I'm not sure that the public will actually see, the full, unedited report. If you remember back to the JFK assassination, it was years before the findings of the Warren Commission and the actual documents from the report and the Commission's findings were released to the public. And for many years, parts of the Commission's findings were classified, so you couldn't actually get that information. Even today, parts of the Commission's findings are still being released, for public information. So, we'll have to see, what is forthcoming. But, like I said at the beginning of this video, the investigation is winding down. So we're sort of moving from the investigation phase now into the reporting phase. And, it's just a question of when will the information be released and who gets to see what. So, we'll just have to sort of wait and see on this, but this is an interesting topic. Be sure to leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. Tell me what you guys think in terms of what should be released. If the report says Donald Trump did no wrong, should it be released? I think, Mr. Trump would definitely want it to be released, even if, no charges are pending. I mean, he wants to be vindicated. So that's my feeling. But, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. That's pretty much it. So thanks very much. Be sure to like this video and share it if you think it will, you know someone who would enjoy this information or would find it useful. And be sure to subscribe if you found this information useful, for plenty of more videos just like this one. Okay, so we'll see you in the next one. You guys take care. Have a good day.